2 winters ago, we had record snowfall, followed by warm temperatures which caused flooding, followed by freezing. The wildlife paid the price big time that year. Last year, we didn't see very many turkeys up here. Every afternoon, I have the opportunity to sit and watch anywhere from 30 to as many as 60 turkeys wander up their specific path from one side of my property to the other, to a couple of trees that they love to roost in. These birds are young enough where just about any noise gets a reaction. One of the things that oftentimes happens after heavy fawn loss is the coming year, the does often have twins. So far this year, I've seen 4 sets of twins chasing their moms around up here. This never gets old. There are so many turkeys around our town, I think people oftentimes look at them like people look at pigeons in New York. But I love them. We've decided that regardless of what hunt is going on, that any wildlife around the property, we're just going to leave alone. I'll end up having a total of 6 yard hydrants on the lower 5 acres of our property. This might be a little bit excessive, but because of this hillside, I intend on splitting it into 2 different pastures, and my thoughts were that I'd rather have a yard hydrant in both pastures. Now, in a best case scenario, I'd have these yard hydrants up against a fence or in a corner or as close as I could possibly get them to one of these trees, because I know a cow or a horse at some point in time is going to try and scratch an itch with one of the handles on these yard hydrants. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I progressively installed the yard hydrants higher and higher up the hill as I went. Now obviously the yard hydrant closest to the tank is going to have the least amount of pressure. But the beauty of water is once that valve is open and water's flowing, the water will be there. Once I get the tank full of water, it'll be really interesting to move around my gauge from bib to bib to see what the pressures are from high to low. I have a pretty good idea of how high the tank is, but the truth is I don't trust the Garmin that I'm using for my GPS because it's an older unit that I can't update. I've gotten different readings a couple of different times, but I've got to be pretty close to 100 feet. Again, everything I'm doing would not be possible with my backhoe. This excavator has become an appendage. I've gotten incredibly comfortable in it. The one thing I will say about the way this excavator moves versus the backhoe, the rate at which the boom swings around and moves around and how fast it is probably 3 times faster than the backhoe. I'm guessing part of that is because of weight. It's not anywhere near as heavy as the Extend-A-Hoe would have been. If I was a complainer, I suppose I would complain about not having room for my dog in there, but Ruger loves running around while I'm working. While the coat is about 30 inches, I've tried to go 4 to 5 feet in depth with these water lines. If I could change one thing, which I could easily fix down the road, it would be nice to have all of the yard hydrants on a designated line versus tied into the main line that feeds the house. If I decided I wanted to fix this at some point down the road, it wouldn't take much to do that. I'd have to run a new trunk line all the way up to the tank for the house. But honestly, I think it's the plumber in me overcomplicating things. Everything should be fine. At different times on my property, as I've been digging, I've gotten into a very white, very light mineral type dirt. Somebody told me it's volcanic ash. Doesn't seem to be more than about 3 or 4 feet deep, but goodness, when you get into it, it is sure dusty. I just about can't see when I'm backfilling with it. If you look around at some of the mountains surrounding the valley up here, you can tell they were at one time a volcano. We're only about 3.5 hours from the south entrance to Yellowstone. I'm really happy with the way things have turned out. I need to groom and clean up the dirt a little bit, but just to have it backfilled is sure nice. The leaves are changing. The nights are cooler, but it was 86 degrees today. I cannot wait to have this one checked off the list. So I've got everything backfilled. I'm not really going to groom things up too much right now because it's just so dry that it's just moving around powder. I'd like to clean up the little road a little better, but this road is hardly ever going to get used. There's been a number of comments about the road. The road actually is going to assist in erosion or as the water comes off the hill towards our house. This is going to take it away from our house. I had that in mind when I put the road in. But this road will hardly ever be used. Now that the tank's in, once the shed's built around the tank, it's just not something that's going to be used very often. I'm going to now go down to the house and open up all the boxes that I got from Rural Power Systems in regard to our well pump, the controller, and the solar panels, and make sure that I've got everything. But everything else is done. Once that pump is in, I'm going to install that pump tomorrow and the solar panels tomorrow. It's done. It'll be pumping water up here, so tomorrow afternoon, maybe in the next 48 hours at absolute most, that tank will be getting filled up with water, and the water struggle that we've had for the last 2 years has been resolved. So I'm going to go down to the house right now.